What an absolutely sloppy baseball game. Are you kidding me? This is how the Mets drop 6 of their past 7 in a fitting fashion that they lose in extras to the Cleveland Guardians in game 1 of a 3-game set. As you guys can see by the final score of 7-6, Mets fans, what is the temperature check as you guys chime in live on a replay for our latest Mets post-game show presented by Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. BetUS that has you covered for all of your sports betting needs and casino, but make sure you're doing it responsibly. And SeatGeek, utilize our promo code WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase. Link down below. Folks, I'm beyond pissed off. It's really hard not to be. Another night where I have to be far more blunt than I otherwise want to be as a fan. Yesterday, Frankie Montas proves yet again why this man should not be in this rotation. Yet David Stearns goes out and talks to the media today to reiterate why he is staying in said rotation for now, which I have a lot more thoughts to share, not only later on the show, but including our video that will be dropping early tomorrow for each and every one of you. The Mets got set for a big 3-game set beginning tonight against the Guardians, and Sean Manaea was looking unhittable throughout the first 5 innings of the ball game, but the problem was the Mets could not hit a lick themselves. Color me shocked. Another night where the Mets had nothing going with runners in scoring position unless your name was Polar Bear Pete Alonso. Not only did Alonso get 1 home run now shy of tying Darryl Strawberry's home run record for the most in franchise history, but it came in a very deflating fashion as Alonso did everything to carry the Mets on his back in this matchup, but it did not matter in the end. Even after the Mets rally all the way back for their biggest rally of the season, their previous largest rally was down 4 runs. Now it was 5, the way that they rallied back against this Guardians team. But no, more piss-poor fundamental play by multiple people in this defense. Not only did Lindor miss a pick that he absolutely should have had there on the throw from Alvarez to try to get a runner out at second, but we also saw Brett Baty have one of the most costly errors you'll ever see. A botched throw to second base that goes out in the outfield. A runner comes in to score, and that was the unravelment of the Mets there in extra innings. We're going to break down everything that transpired because there was a lot that happened in this ball game 1 through 9, along with answering all of your immediate reactions, comments, questions, and concerns. But guys and gals, I want to know, how are we feeling right now? How frustrated are we here on August 4th this evening, here to kickstart the week? No better way to kickstart the week than to kick me right in the you-know-whats. That's how it feels after you drop a ball game like this. I mean, good God, out of all ways that the Mets could have dropped their 6th of 7th game over their past 7 games, you mean to tell me that they have to do it in such a similar fashion to what happened on our Wardy Day there Friday at Citi Field against the Giants? They rally all the way back after being down 2-3 zip, and then bam, we see them losing extras. I mean, like, what are we doing here? Steve Lawn, great member, as always, says 10 left on base, send Taylor. I mean, you are talking to everybody, including myself right now, Steve. We couldn't agree more. Why aren't you sending Tyrone Taylor there at third base? What is it with the Mets' lack of fundamental understanding when it comes to their base running as of late? You brought in Tyrone Taylor for one reason, and one reason only in this ball game, and it's to steal a run for you. And what do you not do? You don't send Tyrone Taylor when you had a prime opportunity to do so. The Guardians' fundamentals was questionable as well in this ball game. Take the risk. Try to see what can happen there. Instead, you do nothing of it. You flounder the opportunity. The Mets strand runners in scoring position. When I tell you that they were horrendous outside of Alonso, everybody, the Mets were a horrendous 4 for 15 with runners in scoring position. If your name was not Pete Alonso, you had absolutely nothing to provide for the most part, with the exception of Lindor and Soto, because they had solid games as well, everybody. Thank you guys so much, everyone chopping in live on a replay. Again, do not hold back. I want to see how you're feeling tonight, because I'm pretty pissed off. It's really hard not to be after the Mets dropped 6 of their past 7 games, after they were on such a nice heater beforehand. Why is this team so effing streaky? It's been the story of their season. There's such a lack of unity, of consistency with this club. When they're riding high, it's awesome, but as soon as they start to falter after maybe having a lead and then blowing it, or of course in the case of just bad fundamental play like this, it's continuing to be their demise. I mean, Sean Manaea was fantastic today until he wasn't. And when Manaea wasn't good today, he was really bad. And that was all the more frustrating when you consider the fact that Manaea through 5 innings was brilliant, and you can't sit here and be a contradictory fan and say, oh, why did Carlos Mendoza bring him in the 6th inning? Everyone in their right mind wanted Manaea there in the 6th inning after he was cruising. Because if Manaea gets pulled after 5 and then the bullpen gets rocked, who are you going to blame right away? Carlos Mendoza. So he's damned if he do, he's damned if he doesn't there. I'm not giving Mendy any flack flack whatsoever for what Manaea couldn't get right there in the 6th inning, but my goodness, my God, my gracious, maybe, just maybe, if this team knew how to competently hit with runners in scoring position the first 5 innings of the ball game, they wouldn't have found themselves in that predicament to begin with. Yeah, here we are with another frustrating ball game in Mets slate to break down, and it's further frustrating that while I understand they're not far back, but Kyle Schwarber's on pace for roughly 60 home runs this year, including 2 tonight, a grand salami. Harrison Bader hits a 3-run ding down for Philadelphia because of course he does. You knew that was inevitably happening. And as we take a quick look now at the standings and playoffs, I know there's plenty play to be had here. The Phillies are 1.5 games up now on the New York Mets. The Mets are now officially 63-50 on the season, everybody, that we see there. They're second in the wild card right now, and they just have a half game on the San Diego Padres. So what felt like a lock for a certainty all season long in playoffs now doesn't feel all that much of a lock, especially when you see teams like the Miami effing Marlins just 1 game below 500, not at all far from nipping at the Mets' heels and others there out of the NL East. It's crazy to say this, everybody, but no, playoffs is not a lock, obviously. They have to continue to chop away, and what are they not doing right now? They're not getting the job done at all on a consistent basis. Let's get to some of these comments in here, everybody, and then let's roll call the live chat. Done with the 17 vomit-inducing loss. I mean, Billy, I know you're not done with the team, but yes, tonight absolutely sucked when it came to loss. There's no denying that whatsoever. Zach says, with a $2 holla, the 2025 New York Mets are getting exhausting to watch. They have been very exhausting to watch in stretches. No doubt about that either. Let's go up the list here and see what else you guys got for me. We got Steve again, I know, really pissed. 10 left on base. Doesn't get much worse than that. We got my guy with the $10 holla. Bunch of losers. Lost 6 of last 7. Have trailed in their last 9 games. Everyone has lost it. Starters have blown a game. Bullpen has a blown game. Offense, defense, blown games. No one is taking control. Sad. It is sad, especially when you bear in mind that's different aspects of the team pretty much on a nightly basis costing the club. If it isn't the starting pitching, it's the runner in scoring position woes. If it isn't the runner in scoring position woes, maybe it's a bullpen blunder. You know, it's one or the other, but either way, it has not been fun to watch. Porca with a $2 holla. Mendoza, good wordplay, should have had Nimmo bunt, game over. Yeah, I mean, listen, if Nimmo did put down that bunt, that would have been nice in hindsight. That didn't happen. Nimmo obviously got nothing done in that at-bat, nor did Alonso there in his biggest at-bat of the ball game. But I'm not here to nitpick Alonso. If it isn't for Alonso, the Mets stand no chance in this ball game. They are not even in this ball game. And Pete Alonso is not going out and doing what he did today, carrying the team on his back. Because as you guys can see here, before we break down the ball game in its entirety in just a minute or so, you guys can see along with me, this is how the lineup ended for this ball game. And what do you see? Pete Alonso having as good of a game as you could possibly ask. This is without question the best game that we've seen from Alonso in a hot minute. Fantastic performance, going 4 for 5 with 4 RBIs, including a 3-run ding-dong that we're going to talk about more shortly. But outside that, everybody, Nimmo with one of his worst games of the season. 0 for 4 strikeouts there. Horrendous approach there that we saw against this Guardians club. You look at Mark Vientos, had the sac fly to tie the game, but not a whole lot else. Cedric Mullins had some really hard hit balls and got unlucky. Soto should have had a home run in this one. It actually would have been a home run in 6 ballparks as he smoked one just under 400 effing feet, still there for a fly out right at the wall. A lot of balls are falling short on the warning track today, not only to Alonso, but others. A Beatty with a very costly error that sticks out like a sore thumb right now, because if that doesn't happen, who knows what the result of this ball game will be. And when we talk about costly errors, everybody, I'm not exaggerating as I say this. He actually gave the error to Alvarez, which I found interesting on his throw, because Lindor's the one who missed how the ball was going to hop. Instead of just waiting for a second, he lifted his glove up there from the runner trying to steal second base when the ball did not hop and just continued to basically go straight through under his glove. I'm not exactly sure why you'd be giving someone like Alvarez an error there, but again, maybe I'm wrong for my initial evaluation. Beatty there, fitting that Beatty with his 7th error of the season for number 7, the most costly one yet for this Mets team, even on a night where, again, the big boy and Pete Alonso now up to 90 RBIs, ties Juan Soto for the most home runs on the club and 25 apiece. It does not matter, because when we take a look at the pitching end, everybody, Sean Manaea, as I said, the Simone Southpaw was absolutely cruising this one until he wasn't. 5 earned runs across 5.2 outings. Before you guys give me your grade on a scale of 1 to 10 for Sean Manaea, I will ask you guys later on in the show once we break down his outing, but do me a favor and start to think about it now in your brain and let me know to our replay viewers in the comments down below, how would you grade the Simone Southpaw's very frustrating final line? Brooks Straley came in, was fine. Tyler Rogers, love him, got out of his own mess there. Reed Garrett got the job done. Edwin Sugar Diaz as well. Was there not to love about Sugar? Stranding a runner at third with no away. Oh yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. That's Ryan Helsley with some absolutely piss poor luck. No earned runs charged on him. Why? Because you have bad fundamental play and you have an inherited runner at second base. Of course, those runs are going to come in to score. Ryan Helsley, very unfortunate. He is now 0-2 with the Mets thus far in the sense that he has yet to record a victory in outings that he comes out for the Mets. The last time that Helsley was out here was when I was in attendance back on Friday when the Mets just fell short 4-3 in extras thanks to Dom effing Smith. Now, guys, as we get into this one, let's get the roll call going and then let's break down this ball game, everybody. We got Vargas in here, how we doing? We got Justin in here, how we doing? We got Sima, we got Charuz, we got Good, we got Southpaw, we got Miguel, we got Rebecca, great member. We got let's see, Tino Celine. I'm butchering that name. Good. AJ, how we doing? Zen, great member. Peter, how are you? Bobby G, thanks so much for chiming in. We got Jose, we got Sharon, we got Emerson, how are you doing? We got Sean MD, we got Tito, great member. We got JTB, we got Camp, we got Michael, we got Seesaw. We got the real butter going up the list here every more. We got Try Daddy in the chat. We got KCJ, great member. We got Juan, great member and moderator. We got Eddie C, great member as always in the chat. We got Julia Hawkins, great member. Thank you so much for chiming in going up here. We got as well another Tito. We got Use, how we doing? We got Arcade, how are you? Thank you for chiming in. We got Truman Quim. We got Lillian, how are you? We got Michael V in the chat. We got Sargent in here. We got all you guys chiming in live at a replay. Snags, great member. Thank you so much for chiming in. All you guys, come one, come all. We got another donation from Casey stating the following with a $5 holla. At what point do we admit that this team just isn't good? At no point can you admit that a Mets team in their current standing is a bad team. I'm sorry. Do they have fundamental issues? Yes. Have they been completely streaky this year? Yes. But to suggest that this Mets team isn't good is where your pre-existing bias is coming into play. Let's not forget how bad this team was so consistently with the Wilpons. I completely understand the notion that this team is maybe underwhelming to what your initial expectation was this season, but the Mets are still well on their way for a 90-plus win season, barring drastic changes, obviously, and we know the potential of this club, but they have not gotten nearly enough in unison when called upon. I understand the frustration, but I don't think that we are at the point yet of saying that this team is flat out not good. I would say that's a fallacy, but you have every rightful reason to be frustrated by aspects of the club and the way that they've lost 6 of their past 7, absolutely, and I don't blame you for feeling the way that you feel right now. That they are a 500 team who just had a good April, May, what evidence say otherwise right now? And I understand the Mets have not played good baseball the past couple months, but what is the commonality of the Mets not playing good baseball in their past couple months? It went in direct hand with Kodai Senga going down. It went in direct hand with Tyler McGill going down to a degree. It went in direct hand with Griffin Canning going down. It went in direct hand with Sean Manaea having multiple delays and returning from injury this year. It also went in direct hand with the Mets having a complete lack of proper situational approach with runners in scoring position. What is the good thing about some of these issues? They can be rectified, but the problem is they're not being fixed right now. And when it comes to the rotation, the Mets continue to get exposed on that front. And if your name is not David Pearson, you have not averaged more than 4.2 innings as a starter for the Mets going back over their past 46 effing games. You know how terrible that is? You know how much there's a lack of quality and length with this team? And you wonder why the Mets went out of their way to build a super bullpen at the deadline. It had far more to do with the fact that they're not getting consistent length from their starters, and they need higher leverage, higher quality arms to come in there and basically any situation that's called upon versus having to rely on a whole lot of question marks headlined by a Jose Budo, for example, that the Mets ultimately traded away. So, guys, without further ado, let's break down this ball game. Before I do it, however, I want to give a quick shout out to our great friends at SeatGeek that, again, have you covered for all of your ticketing needs. Head over there to SeatGeek and utilize their app that you guys can see because their grading scale is so easy to navigate. It's from red to green, 1 to 10, meaning that if you purchase a ticket in the red area, 1 through 4, it's not a good bang for your buck. If you purchase a ticket in the 7 through 10 range there, and they're in the green area, it's a great bang for your buck there, and SeatGeek has you covered. So, folks, if you want to utilize SeatGeek for Mets tickets, concert show tickets with the NFL season right around the corner, you name it, utilize our promo code WARDY10 for 10% off your next ticket purchase, utilizing that link down below, and shout out once more here to SeatGeek. Let's get into what was another, pardon my French, kiddos, earmuffs, a 1, a 2, a 3, a shit show of ball game for the Mets, where there was a complete lack of fundamental play, a complete lack of consistency with the hitting as well. And when it came to the Mets pitching, again, it was great until it wasn't. And outside of Chaminades' one bad inning, you really can't fault that all that much when you look at this pitching outing. So that's what makes this all the more frustrating. It was one terrible inning by the Mets on the pitching end, as well as the Mets' continued opportunities where runners in scoring position, runners at third, mind you, less than 2 out, and all they need to do is drive them in with an effing sac fly or a ground out, and they can't do it to save their life. Again, if your name was not Pete Alonso, you had little to nothing to provide for this Mets team tonight. Very frustrating to say, but that's the reality that we find ourselves in. Folks, as we get into breaking down this ball game, let's start from the top, all right? It begins here in the first, as we would see a 1-2-3 inning there for Chaminade and this New York Mets team. In the bottom of the first, however, the Mets had nothing to show because, of course, they didn't. Zucchini, potato, however you pronounce the young man's name there for the Guardians, he was cruising this one, and that makes it easy when you're facing a Mets offense that has been so Jekyll and Hyde this effing season. Yet somehow, some way, the Mets are still a top 7 offense in all Major League Baseball. I know, I'm surprised by it too. As we see in the bottom of the first, though, the Mets go down 1, 2, and 3. In the second, the Guardians go down 1, 2, and 3. When I tell you that this ball game felt like it was almost over in the first hour, that is not an exaggeration. In the blink of an eye, we were in the third inning, and in the blink of an eye, in an hour into the ball game, we were already over halfway through this ball game. One of the fastest paced games that we saw up until the final couple innings today. And the top of the second, 1, 2, 3 there for Chaminade. And the bottom of the second, we saw the polar bear and Pete Alonso rip himself a single for his first hit of the ball game. After McNeil would strike out, nothing else happened, sadly, as Vientos and Mullins go down in order. In the third, and mind you, everybody, some really unlucky at-bats early on between Vientos and Soto. They both absolutely smoked baseballs on their first at-bats in this one, and there was nothing to show for it. These puppies were falling short on the warning track, especially in the case of Soto. Then we see everybody in the third inning. In the third inning, what happens? After back-to-back strikeouts on Nolan Jones and Brian Rocchio, we would see Austin effing Hedges. Yes, that same schmuck Hedges. That gives you nothing on the offensive end except for today. He rips his second double this season, that little schmuck, and he's on with 2 away. For Steven Kwan, the biggest, hottest commodity of a bat after Eugenio Suarez at the trade deadline, and what does Steven Kwan do? He flies out to the left of Brandon Nimmo to end the inning unscathed for Chaminade. As we then get to the bottom of the third, everybody, we would see a 1, 2, 3 for this Mets offense once more. You got nothing from Ronnie, nothing from Alvey, and a whole lot of nothing from Nimmo as he's called out on strike 3. We then head to the fourth inning where, again, it's another 1, 2, 3 outing there that we would see for Chaminade. Doing a great job on, again, Sean was cruising so often that we saw every single inning in this ball game up until the 6th inning. Chaminade had himself cruising. Give me 1 second, everybody, as I try to focus my camera here. Okay, I believe we're back. As we get to the bottom of the fourth, because Chaminade is cruising through 4, we would see Juan Soto rip himself a 1-out single. Then the Polar Bears on for the second time today with another single. 2 on, 1 away here for Jeff McNeil. What happens with Jeff? He flies out. Great. Then what happens with Vientos? He grounds out because of course he does. The Mets strand runners on base, a runner in scoring position with less than 2 away. As we get to the 5th inning, everybody, we see with 2 outs, Nolan Jones with a single. After a hit by pitch then to Brian Rocchio, Austin Hedges is not getting himself a double this time. He grounds out to end the inning, and Chaminade is through 5 unscathed. As we get to the bottom of that same inning, Cedric Mullins leads off the inning there with a walk, and then he steals his 16th bag of the year, everybody. So Mullins already with 2 stolen bases in the first 3 games that he's partook in, or 4 games. Either way, very good start for Mullins with the base running. Love to see that. And then we see Ronnie Mauricio go down with a line out. Alvarez flies out because of course he does. Again, another hard hit ball. And Brandon Nimmo yet again struck out in this ball game. Mets strand him with less than 2 out. As we get to the 6th inning, Stephen Kwan greets Mr. Shamania rudely with a leadoff single. Then Angel Martinez with a hit by pitch. So for another inning, after allowing a man to get on, Shamania hits the batter. This time it comes back to bite him in the you-know-what. Because after Jose Ramirez would fly out, folks, we would see Shamania with the wild pitch, which allowed Angel Martinez there to get to second base. And then here comes David Fry, everybody, who rips himself a single on a liner. Here comes in to score, and the Guardians are up 1-0 just like that. After the Guardians make it 1-0, they say, F it, let's make it 2-0 as Carlos Santana pokes one there to Soto as well. It's 2-0 Cleveland, and you really felt like the game wasn't over, but you're really uninspired by the lack of offense in the first half of this ballgame. That's where it really came to bite them in the ass. But you want to know what makes the matters worse? When Gabriel Arias rips an absolute bomb, his 8th of the year, opens the floodgates early against Shamania and this Mets team. And the worst part, and I love Sean, he served up batting practice. It was the second pitch of the at-bat. It was a changeup, middle, 84 miles per hour. It was eaten alive, 440 feet, 112 off the bat, and just like that, it's 5-zip Guardians in the first 6 innings of the ball game. After that hanger there that we would see by Mr. Gabriel Arias, we then get to the rest of the inning, as thankfully after Brooks Riley comes in, he gets a strikeout on Austin Hedges to end it, but not before the Guardians are now up 5-0. The chat says, AJ, who the hell is Gabriel Arias? Exactly. I think that's how we feel with a lot of these Guardians players, especially because I'm not following the Guardians intensely, and they always churn out great young talent every year. They're great with their analytics department and their player development. Not so great when it comes to actually spending money, as we know. In the bottom of the 6th inning, Francisco Lindor strikes out swinging that we see, and that was after, we saw the wild pitch by Slade Cicchini. So thankfully that allowed Lindor to get actually to first after he struck out. That was a huge luck play in the Mets' favor. So Lindor's on here for Juan Soto. And then Juan Soto gets on with a fielder's choice because we got some bad funnies by Rocchio with the error. Before you know it, you get Juan at first, you get Lindor at third. There's no way for the polar bear. All Pete needs to do is have a sac fly to at least get the Mets some offense in this ball game. Instead, he rips his 25th bomb of the year, and oh my goodness gracious, did he destroy this baseball. That was 388 feet, right around 100 miles per hour on a sinker up and in, and he turned on it there for, again, his 25th home run of the year, tying Juan Soto for the most home runs currently on this Mets squad, as well as now putting him just one shy of Darryl Strawberry for the most home runs in Mets franchise history. He currently has 251. Strawberry has 252. Not a matter of if, but when Alonso ties Big Straw. It's a 5-3 ball game at this point, everybody. The Mets rallied themselves a little bit back in. I got chills with that bomb by Alonso just because we've seen so many uninspiring games this year where they kind of have rolled over after they're down by 4 or 5+ runs. The Mets have not rallied back from 5 runs at all this year, everybody. Yeah, here we are getting into it, everybody. Let's see. Al shut up. We lost. No shit, Sherlock. That's what we're talking about. Unless you're yapping to someone else in the chat, you're donezo, and he's already out of here in the chat. That was easy. I mean, buddy, you don't come in and say shut up, we lost. That's the whole point of why we're talking right now. Or frustrated that we lost. But I'm glad that it took you a little boot from the chat from someone else, not named myself, to get that through your skull. As we get on now, everybody, to the 7th inning, here comes Tyler Rogers, and Tyler Rogers works out of his own little mess because he gives up a leadoff single to the contact king and Stephen Kwan. Then we see Angel Martinez ground out, Jose Ramirez ground out, and then David Fry strikes out. Fantastic job by Tyler Rogers to work around the leadoff runner getting on. Rogers now with 2 scoreless outings for the Mets since making his debut there that we saw the other day. Rogers, love him, submariner, nasty, cannot wait to see more of him in this Mets bullpen. I'm already hoping that he returns next season, and I really hope the Mets can get the job done there. He's one of my favorite relievers in all Major League Baseball. Man, oh man, do I appreciate him. I'm saying this bearing in mind that if I jinx his next outing, it is what it is. I've been gassing this guy up well before he was on the Mets. I like him a lot, if it goes without saying. As we get to the bottom of the 7th inning, everybody, the Mets are trying to rally back again. They're only down 2. So what happens? They promptly go down in order. Marte strikes out a foul tip. Alvey pops out in the infield. And Nimmo, yes, you guessed it, strikes out yet again. Oh my goodness, Ali, I give you credit for coming back in, even though you're just a little absolute schmuck. It's going to take him 2 seconds to get out of here as well. I hope you can continue the pace of keeping the new accounts because you're going to need them in this one. You're going to need a lot of them. So let's see how much of a low life you are and can keep this going. As we get to the 8th inning, everybody, we would see Reed Garrett come in for Tyler Rogers. And as Reed Garrett comes in, what does he do? He gets a nice 1-2-3 there on Carlos Santana, Gabriel Arias, and Nolan Jones. He especially strikes out Gabriel and Nolan back-to-back, everybody. And fantastic work by Reed Garrett initially in this Mets bullpen. They did what they were supposed to do. We got some donations. Let's get to addressing those quickly, and then we're going to continue on with breaking down the ball game. When your starting pitcher is giving up 5+ runs a game, it's hard to win like that. What is wrong with our pitching? Do those guys care anymore? One, it's not for a lack of care on Sean's end. He was cruising through 5. He just had a horrendous 6th inning. It's going to happen sometimes, unfortunately. It's more apparent that that's inflated because of the fact that the Mets have not been pitching well consistently at all. I think that there's not a guy that doesn't care, but a guy that gives off the vibes that he's just frustrating the way that he pitches. That's Frankie Montas. That goes without saying. Clay Holmes, when as worse, which has kind of been the case a bit lately, is working all around the zone, but actually attacking the batters the way that he's supposed to. And if he is, he's giving up a lot of contact. That's why Clay Holmes' game tomorrow is mightily important to see how he performs, because if he does not give the Mets more than, say, 4.2 or 5 innings, again, another prime example of how the rotation is a continued problem for this club. There's multiple problems with this team. There's no denying that, but this is certainly one of them. Orphan, thank you so much for the $5 holla. Beatty shit once again fooled the Beatty Glazers by playing average baseball for 1.5 months. For the 4th year, Beatty Street, you know what, is not a good baseball player. Well, here's the thing. Regardless on how much you love it or hate Beatty, and I can tell you don't love Beatty at this point in time, he's not immediately going anywhere right now. The only way that he gets more boxed out is if Mauricio and Vientos get more playing time. Maybe you get a guy like Mauricio more at third base, Jeff at second, Cedric at center. I like that. And then you're going to have Vientos at DH. I like that a lot, actually. So that's the immediate route to getting someone like him out of the rotation or out of the consistent mix for the Mets, because Beatty is known for his defense. And if he's going to be a liability on that front, we have a problem. You know what I mean? Like that error was mightily costly for this team as we then got to the bottom of the 8th inning. Because in the bottom of the 8th inning, everybody, we see Francisco Lindor rip himself a single. Then we see Juan Soto rip himself a single. Again, really hard hit ball, back-to-back. Great job by the Mets, top of the lineup here outside of Nimmo to get the rally started in the bottom of the 8th inning. Then we see everybody, the Polar Bear, doing Polar Bear things yet again. And that is the following. Alonso pokes himself a single there to the left side. It makes it a 5-4 ball game. Alonso at this point is 4 for 4 in the ball game with 4 RBIs, all thanks to him, truly. And then we see, after Jeff McNeil's single, then we see Mark Vientos with a sac fly to tie the ball game. It's 5-5. Mets rally all the way back from being down 5 runs, their biggest rally of the season. But wait, the ball game isn't over. And not only is it not over, it's far from over, as a matter of fact. And we would see Cedric Mullins ground out after he smoked a baseball, got robbed there, and then we see Beatty grounds out, and that does it there for the inning. After we would see Cade Smith, one of the best young relievers in all the American League, that I would love to see this Mets bullpen finish a job there to end the 8th. As we get to the 9th, it's Edwin Sugar Diaz facing Brian Rocchio. Who wins this round? Brian Rocchio. He pokes himself a single, and then just like that, Rocchio goes first to third after the throwing error there by Francisco Alvarez. Even though I really think it's more on Lindor for where he put his glove placement, I don't know how much you can blame Alvarez for how the ball maybe didn't bounce in their favor. It didn't bounce up. It kind of just went more straight after initially was on the one hop. I don't know how much you blame a guy for Alvarez that, but at the same time, they give him the error for a reason. So regardless, a runner's at third. There's no way. It's a tied ball game in the 9th inning. We're all shaking in our effing boots. So what happens next? Kyle Manzardo's what happens next, as Manzardo would strike out swinging on a gorgeous slider there right down the pipe by Edwin, and there's one away on the righty-lefty matchup. Then Stephen Kwan, the most feared hitter for the Mets in this one, not named J-Ram, because Kwan is a contact king. And what does Kwan do, everybody? He pops out to Lindor in the infield. Massive pop out for the Mets to get in their favor here, and then we would see Daniel Sheeman come in and strike out swinging after a grind of an at-bat against Edwin Diaz. Edwin strikes out 2 of the next 3 that he faces while stranding a runner at third with no away. When in doubt, Edwin Diaz, Sugar out. This is exactly why Sugar is now, for the 2nd time this year, the NL reliever of the month after going 10 games, 11 innings of 0 earned run baseball, 7 saves, and he has now allowed no more than 1 earned run since right around mid-April, everybody. It is August 4th. So when you think of dominance, when you think of superiority on the back end of the bullpen, look no further than Edwin Diaz and what was unfortunately a wasted effort tonight as the Mets still drop this one 7-6 rather, because they drop it, but not before we see the following. Francisco Alvarez gets himself a leadoff single in the ninth inning. The Mets got their runner on. As a surprise, absolutely nobody, Brandon Nimmo, yet again, strikes out this time on a foul tip. Here comes Francisco Lindor, though. Mind you, Tyrone Taylor is pinch running for Alvarez at first. You're one away. And here comes Francisco Lindor smoking a double. His 22nd of the year into the right field corner. Here's Tyrone Taylor. He's buzzing. He's running. He's routing second. He's about around third, and they hold him up at third. Why? Because I don't know why. That's why. Either way, runners at second and third. I'm losing my shit because I'm saying to myself, I guarantee that Tyrone Taylor would have made it close at home. Why not go with that run? Because I'm telling you right now, there was probably going to be more people aggravated if Tyrone didn't run at third than him running at third and being out in the end. What do we see happen? He is safe at third, but there's runners at second and third. They intentionally walk Juan Soto. Pete Alonso, all Pete needs is a sac fly. All Pete needs is an effing sac fly. And mind you, this was after Nimmo should have put the bunt down earlier in this inning. All Alonso needs is a sac fly. All he needs is a ground out that is not a double play, and we're cooking. What does Alonso do? He strikes out a foul tip. The most important at-bat for Alonso today, but the reason why I'm not going to rag Alonso too much is because the Mets are not even in this ball game, let alone extra innings, if it isn't there for what Alonso did in said ball game. I know we're not in extras yet, but my point still stands. If it is a repeat, the Mets stand absolutely no effing chance in this one. Alonso strikes out nonetheless. McNeil then lines out, which then gets us set 4 extra innings. Here comes Hell's Bells. Cue them, and here's Ryan Helsley. He's got Mr. J. Ram and Jose Ramirez at second base. And then we see it quickly become 6-5 Guardians because Brett Beatty effing botches a throw and allows David Fry to be safe. You see Daniel Sheeman coming to score. Jose is going to third. You got runners at second and effing third now. No way, and you're down by 1. Thanks for that. Thanks for the lack of defensive fundamentals, and it would get from bad to worse because after 1 away, we would see Gabriel Reyes with a sac fly, something the Mets couldn't do in the ninth inning with less than 2 out, and that makes it 7-5 Guardians. We get to the bottom of the 10th. In the bottom of the 10th, Mark Vientos grounds out. Cedric Mullins lines out. And then we see Brett Beatty there. We would see him rip an RBI single, so the hitman is trying to make up for his defensive lows. And Brett, this would have been so much more impactful if the Mets weren't down by 2, but they were. The 1 RBI puts the Mets within 1, and afterwards, everybody, Luis Torrens comes in, and he flies out to end the ball game. Folks, the Mets go on to lose this one by a final score of 7-6. And when we take a look now on the pitching end and what was a very frustrating final line for Shamanai today, everybody, let's get into how he utilized his arsenal, because something was apparent for Shamanai today. When you saw in his first inning or so, or his first turn in the order, he utilized the fastball a boatload of the time. As a matter of fact, Shamanai in his first turn in the order today utilized his four-seam fastball 88% of the time. Then we saw in the second turn in the order, it was less than half that at 38% of the time. So you go from 88 to 38. And then what do we see after that? A whole lot of Shamanai throwing meatballs with the changeup. As we break down his arsenal, he had the four-seam fastball that he threw 61% of the time. He topped out 93, sat 91. He's still a little down the velo. The sweeper at 29% of the arsenal, topped out right around 80, sat right around 77, and that's it there with the sweeper. The changeup, 9% of the arsenal. You wish he didn't throw it at all today, especially with that effing hanger of a home run. Topped at 85, sat 84. Shamanai's finalized 5.2 innings of 5 earned run baseball. I'm going to give Shamanai's final line grade today a score of 4.5 out of 10. The reason why I'm not going lower, even with 5 earned runs, is because Manaea was really, really good today, with the exception of 1 inning. It's just a damn shame that on a day where the Mets had nothing going, and their first half of the ball game goes in direct hand within the Guardians Guardians pouncing on that opportunity, taking advantage of actually having runners in scoring position, and pouncing on first or second pitches by the Simone Southpaw. I want to know your grades on a scale of 1 to 10 in regards to Sean Manaea and his final line today, everybody. Relay it in the live chat and the comments down below, and thank you guys kindly for going ahead to do exactly that. Brooks Raley got the job done in this one. When we look at the collective bullpen effort in this one, I'm not even all that mad at Ryan Helsley. It was a lack of fundamental play. As a matter of fact, when I look at this Mets bullpen today, they're going to get a rock solid 7.5 out of 10 from your guy Wardy today. They kept the Mets in this ball game through and through, and it is not the bullpen's fault that Brett Baty botched a throw at second base. It is not the bullpen's fault that there was a almost costly throw there from Alvarez to Lindor to Brian Rocchio getting to third there in the 9th inning. It is not the bullpen's fault that the Mets went a whopping 4 for 15 with runners in scoring position. So that's the initial evaluation on the pitching tonight. Now let's take a look on what continues to be frustrating with this offense. Starting from the top, a man who really had a bad game, one of his worst games of the season, which really pisses me off because Nimmo had a really good game not that long ago. Nimmo 0 for 5, 4 strikeouts, 257 average, 769 OPS. Francisco Lindor, 2 for 5 with 2 runs scored, 253 average, 760 OPS. When we go up the list even more here, everybody, down the list rather, we have Juan Soto and Pete Alonso, and Casey, I'm going to get to the donation again in a minute. Thank you so much for that. Juan Soto there, we saw 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored, a walk, a smoked baseball that should have been a bomb, but it wasn't. 250 average, 862 OPS. Pete Alonso, 4 for 5, 3-run ding-dong, 1 shy of straw, 4 RBIs, 466 average, 869 OPS. Easily the best game in a hot minute for Alonso, and he has been swinging the bat better as of late. We've seen the past couple games. McNeil, 1 for 5 with a run scored, 251 average, 791 OPS. Vientos, 0 for an RBI and a sac fly, a 232 average, and a 649 OPS. Seti, a whole lot of nothing today. He did smoke some baseballs, though, and stole a bag, had good defense, 224 average, 724 OPS. Ronnie Mauricio, nothing to show this time, 0 for 2, 233 average, 722 OPS. Starling Marte, 0 for 1 coming in for him as a pinch hitter, 275 average, 750 OPS. Alvarez, 1 for 4, 252 average, 722 OPS, and the error, Tyrone Taylor pinch running, a $1.99 now on the average. He's actually batting below the Mendoza line and a 544 OPS. Yikes. Terens 0 for 1, 216 average, 591 OPS, everybody. And that does it for the Mets on their offense. Again, 4 for 15 with runners in scoring position. They left 10 on base, and we see Alonso now has 90 RBIs on the year. Beatty's up to 35, and Vientos is up to 32. So that is what you got from a whole lot of frustration on the lack of consistency with this Mets offense. And now, folks, as we head back to the main slide, let's get into answering this comment from Casey, which states the following. Wardy, I need you to genuinely tell me what you see that makes you think a major turnaround is coming. Inspire us here, please. Okay. Let me be hype man Wardy for a second, and let me dig out of my current depression as the Mets dropping 6 of their past 7 games. Okay. Why you should buy into this Mets team still? Anything can happen in the game of baseball. We have seen countless times where a Mets team that has not looked their best, nor has played their best, has had great runs down the stretch actually in postseason play. And when I think about the Mets, and when I think about why you should be inspired, is because as frustrating as some of their flaws have been this year, there is still potential. I'm not saying that they are going to make all the worlds of difference, but there's a reality that both Brandon Sproat and Noah McLean are impacting this Mets rotation and our bullpen within the next couple weeks. And that's important when you bear in mind the potential that they have on the pitching end. Offensively, this team needs to dig deep. It goes without saying. Cedric Mullins, once he finds his groove, is going to be an entertaining depth piece to have in this lineup. When you look at the rest of this club, Juan Soto needs to be able to hit with runners in scoring position. I know he hasn't been primed in those opportunities all the time, especially when you look at the guys around him, but you still need to produce more than what you have. Today was a solid day for Soto, but we need to see more than that. We also need to see not only Nimmo not have horrendous games and leadoff being the opposite of a plate setter the way that he was today, but you need to see some consistency and unity from the youth movement from 5 to 9 in said lineup. I do have confidence that we can get that because we've seen it in flashes, but what has been the commonality with the Mets and their woes this year? It's been a lack of things and unity. There's been a lack of consistency with having things work right. You know when you guys see maybe the meme or the joke where you have like 4 or 3 switches, and let's say it's 4 switches, and every time that you put 3 down, 1 pops up, or when you put 2 down, 2 pop up. You got 1 down, 3 up. They're never all locked in. They can never all be set at the same time because there's something awry. And whether it has been the Mets' lack of fundamental heading with runners in scoring position, which has plagued them all year long, which is why entering tonight's game, if I'm not mistaken, they were still last in baseball in team batting average with runners in scoring position, or second to last at least. Either way, it's horrendous for a team that's trying to make the World Series this year, let's be frank. Then you add in the lack of depth from their rotation yet again. Shamana is able to get into the sixth inning, but him getting into the sixth inning is a heavy factor as to why the Mets lost this ball game. So you say to yourself, you're finally starting to get length out of the Simone southpaw, and he goes completely kaput, and there's nothing to show for it. Then you look at, okay, what are we going to get from this bullpen? Bullpen has not been much of a liability here, but we did see guys get further exposed. Another bad Ryan Stanek outing yesterday, among other things. Why should you have confidence in this Mets team? The reason why you should have confidence in them turning it around and having a better stretch than what we've seen this year is because, as frustrating as this entire season has been in stretches, if we say all year we're being spoiled for a team that's on pace for 90-plus wins, we're acting like Yankees fans if that's the case. Let's not lose sight of how being a Mets fan is by building character after their constant losing ways. Let's appreciate the highs that we've seen this year, as well as a matter of fact that this franchise has been far worse on paper, has been far worse in stretches of baseball, yet has had impressive playoff runs. And I understand that Cespedes was a massive factor behind that jolt in 2015, but let's not forget just how piss poor that Mets team was on paper up until that point. If that Mets team could get where they got that year, if the Mets last year, mind you, after being 11 games below 500, can get all the way to 2 games shy of the World Series last year, then by God, this team can get something figured out. But I do not know if those answers will go in hand with the youth movement from their pitching, or if it'll be something more internal when it comes to them actually coming together as a core group. Either way, something will and need to be had there should they have the run that we're hoping to see. The Phillies are on a heater right now, I get that, but at the same time, guys, this is a marathon, not a race. We have seen this time and time again. Do not lose sight on the fact that we are not here with playoffs starting tomorrow. Do not lose sight on the fact that the Mets still have a lot more baseball to be had this season. Because while I have been calling out the same exact issues that this ball club has had, going back to their first series loss of the year in Houston against the Astros, with their lack of hitting with runners in scoring position, even when Alonso and Lindor were pretty much red hot from the start of the season. Even having said that, even understanding those woes, we know that we have seen in flashes their ability to work out of it. But the problem that we have with this team that I'm still waiting to see is this true consistency, and not only playing up to competition, but actually understanding the vibe of the ball game. I feel like that there are so many instances this year where Carlos Mendoza has had a lack of feel, or it's been this collective group that just has not had that moxie, the chutzpah, whatever you want to call it, to get them right after facing an early deficit, or when it comes to the rotation. Remember, they far exceeded expectations in the first month and a half of the season or so. And one in hand with David Stearns' master plan to build this rotation, but it's fallen flat because of the endless injuries and trying to stretch guys from relievers to starters, i.e. Clay Holmes, and it hasn't worked as well on the length front as what you're hoping right now. So when we look at the prospect of one, if not both of Noah McLean, Brandon Sproat, Jonathan should have been in Syracuse north of a month ago. So the Mets' conservatism when it comes to their top pitching prospects is quite the contrary from all the other aggressive moves that they made in the minor leagues to relievers and position players. It doesn't make all that much sense, especially when you bear in mind that starting pitching is the immediate team need. Carson Benz, you could probably make the argument, is good at the major league level right now, as the kid's batting .370 with over 1,000 OPS right now in AA. In case you want to know more on Benz, arguably the Mets' top prospect in all of the Mets farm right now, check out my video I dropped earlier today. Disregard the Frankie Montas stuff as much, because that's already been contradicted from what Carlos Mendoza has stated, along with David Stearns, that I will reiterate to each and every one of you further, and content dropping earlier in the day tomorrow. No, I am not happy with the notion that Montas is still going to be in turn with the Mets rotation, but now we're going to see a spot starter. Oh yeah, that's really going to move the needle. It's not like the Mets are 5-10 this season in spot start games. So, if you want to wave the white flag, just tell us that you want to wave it now, because we're inevitably going to see that happen in the coming days, barring obviously that they could go ahead and go against the odds there, everybody. But I want to know how you're feeling. And I definitely want to know how you feel as the Mets have now dropped 6 of their past 7 games. I will say, if there's anything fitting about tonight's loss, it's the score. I mean, you've dropped 6 of your past 7 and you lose by a final score of 7-6. I mean, it's kind of chef's kiss in that sense, but in the worst way possible. When we take a look, everybody, at the Guardians and the Mets, what do we see? We see a Guardians team that was hungry, a team above 500 that pounced on some early pitches by Sean Manaea and didn't let up. Even after blowing their 5-run lead, they didn't let up. And not only was it the Mets' incompetence in certain areas on the defensive end that hurt them, but it also has to do with the fact that you had a Guardians team that just had an it factor. And when you see a team like the Guardians, who I do not mean this anything personal to the Guardians and their fans at all, but it's a fact. Night and day when you look at the roster construction with the lineup, especially. But yet this lineup was a better offense versus what the Guardians had versus what the Mets had to offer. The Guardians had 9 hits to the Mets 11 in this one. When we look at the expected batting average between the two teams, it was as follows. The Mets actually had some really, really bad luck in this one. They had expected batting average of 349. So as I told you, they did smoke a lot of baseballs in this one at 238 expected batting average of the Guardians. Their offense wasn't overly inspiring, but they had better situational hitting. And that's all you can ask for if you're a Guardians fan today. Shout out to my guy Fuzzy. The Guardians, though, when it came with runners in scoring position, were just as bad as the Mets. So that makes it piss me off even more. They were 3 for 14 and left 7 on base in this one. Then, if we go ahead and we take a look not only on what the Guardians did right against this Mets team, let's go ahead and take a look on just how many times were the Mets robbed in this ball game that we saw because of the fact that it was falling just short on the Wardy track. Well, it starts with the following here. Let's go to the top. Exit velo, 109 on the bat of Francisco Alvarez for a ground out. We saw, what do we see? A fielder's choice on Soto at 107. What do we see? A ground out on Vientos at 106. What do we see? A pop out for Alvarez somehow at 105. What do we see? A Juan Soto fly out at 105 that had an expected batting average of 710. Alvarez's fly out at 105.6 had an expected batting average of 720. You see Mark Vientos' ground out had an expected batting average of 430. Holy shit, Alvarez's ground out had an expected batting average of 630. The defense by the Guardians, while it wasn't sexy today, came up clutch when they needed to, clearly. Oh my God, this is disgusting. I'm just going down the list here and looking at all these exit velocities right now. Are you kidding me? Like, actually, are you kidding me? Even Vientos' flyout, which again, got a run in at least, had an expected batting average of 630. So, yeah, a whole lot of things not working the Mets' favor when it came to their offensive ways. And a lack of situational awareness with runners in scoring position loom large yet again in this one. Folks, by a scale of 1 to 10 watching live, as well as the people on replay, I want to hear from each and every one of you. Spam in the chat. What is your level of frustration with the Mets right now? Yes, I did see the news on Dom Hamill, a great friend of the platform. I've actually interviewed Dom and had him on the channel in the past. The only reason why we haven't talked about him, it goes in direct hand. Let's see. Why are you guys talking in caps? Oh, in the chat, yeah, I don't know why they're doing that. Dom Hamill, yes, that was expected for the call-up. He's the latest innings eater in the Mets bullpen until they make a different move there, obviously, because Austin Warren threw 4 innings. He wasn't going to be in the bullpen today. I don't expect Dom to be here too long, but I'll expand more on Dom Hamill and content tomorrow. Emerson, great question, my guy. I do hope to do them either as soon as tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. Either way, I'm hoping to do them sometime this week, and I appreciate you mentioning that. Honestly, it might even not happen then. Maybe it'll happen Thursday, because I am eyeing to do a later evening Thursday night live show on the platform for each and every one of you. And we're also going to be doing a members only Q&A segment on the platform on Thursday, barring changes. There's a there's no chance we're going to do it Wednesday. I'm going to be busy Wednesday evening. But yeah, Thursday we're doing a members only Q&A segment, as well as a live show on the off day where we may take live callers there. If we don't do it in one of our post games, we'll do it there. So just make sure you're on the lookout for that. 2 foul tips in the 9th was crazy. It was crazy. And again, it's just showing you the lack of luck the Mets are having right now. And when it rains, it pours with this team at the moment. I think that's another very frustrating thing. Let's see. Hold on. Let me just get a look here. Let me double check one thing, everybody, and then we're going to continue on with the live show. Thank you again to everybody that's hitting that like and subscribe on your way in. I want to know how we're feeling tonight, as again, the Mets unfortunately dropped this one in a very frustrating fashion by a final score of 7-6, dropped 6 of their past 7 ball games. We're going to continue on the live show, everybody, for another 10 minutes or so, but everyone that watches this on replay, I'm going to cut things off now. So final thing for everybody to hear live now and the back folks, be on the lookout. They'll be dropping either late tonight or early tomorrow. I will be having a Mets recap video, just a summarized version for anyone that wants to check it out. All the Mets losing 7-6 there in the Bleacher Report app. Just head over to the Mets segment of Bleacher Report. When you go to MLB, go to Mets, you will see me there. I'll be covering the Mets every single night there in the Bleacher Report app, starting tonight, if not early tomorrow, just really as quickly as I can to get that video turned around, and be on the lookout. We're going to be doing that every single night. So if you guys want a more condensed version of my immediate reaction to games, you guys can check it over in the Bleacher Report app. We will also post it at times as short content on the YouTube channel as well. So you guys will have a nice little balance of either short reaction as well as some analysis, along with the long form reaction like we do in these post-game shows. So everyone watching live, let's continue to answer your comments, questions, and concerns. To everybody on replay, thank you kindly for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in, on your way out. Be on the lookout as well, everybody, because with our live show on Thursday, we are giving away a jersey to one lucky subscriber, all just for being an awesome supporter and helping us get a 34,000 on the platform. Once we hit 35K, we're doing another giveaway as well. So make sure you guys are on the lookout for all of it. Hit that like and subscribe on your way in and out. Live viewers, let's continue. People on replay, this is where we're cutting things off.